All right, one more time. Welcome. Welcome, and we are at the tail end of the Capstone presentations for fall 2023. And our final team, firm is Aerobolt. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Joey Harmon.
And I'm Sage Dunaway.
And we are Aerobolt. So first, we just want to give you guys a quick little insight to our company by sharing our vision statement. Aerobolt is driven by our vision to satisfy every consumer while aiming to set the standards for athletic footwear prowess, all the while supporting our employees, stakeholders, and the global environment. So a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. First, we're going to look at our financial performance, followed by some accounting highlights. Then we'll move on to our competitive strategy, as well as distribution and market segments, before we finish up with what worked, what didn't work, and some of our achievements.
Okay, so to start with some of our financial performance, if you look in the top left, this is our EPS, our earnings per share. Our company is the blue line, and the gray line represents the investor expectations. As you can see, in year 11 and 12, we got to an early lead over the investor expectations and managed to maintain this growth throughout year 20 with a small dip in year 16. Also, as a note, we managed to maintain the highest earnings per share in the industry throughout all 10 years. Next, in the top right, we're going to look at our return on equity. Once again, in year 12 especially, we had a great year, but unfortunately we were unable to maintain this growth, and we ended up falling below the investor expectations from year 16 through year 18.
Yeah, so now looking at our stock price, once again we're represented by the blue line, while investor expectation is represented by the gray line. As you can see, similarly to our earnings per share, we got off to a good start where we created a gap between ourselves and the investor expectations. From there, we saw a steady increase in our stock price through year 15. However, as you can see here in year 16, we had a large decrease of over $100 in our stock price. This was due to some ambitious decision making on our behalf. However, we were able to adjust and take corrective actions so that we could see a steady increase in our stock price once again. We were the industry leaders with stock price for all 10 years. And in fact, in year 15, we had a global top 100 stock price.
Lastly, we're going to look at our net revenues. In this graph, the gray line represents the industry average because there were no investor expectations here. And similar to the other three metrics, our growth was great up until year 16 where we took a small dip, but after that we recovered great. Just like our EPS and stock price, we maintained the highest net revenues all 10 years in the industry, while hitting the $1 billion sales club in year 13 and never looking back.
Yeah, so now looking at our credit rating and image rating, just below where the years listed here for both ratings, you can see the investor expectations. All 10 years for both ratings, we were above investor expectations. And in year 14, we reached the highest credit rating that you can achieve. And then in year 13, we reached the highest image rating that you could achieve, and we maintained both of these standards for the remainder of our 10 years. Now onto some accounting highlights. First, we're going to look at our current ratio. Down here in the bottom left, again, we are represented by the blue line. However, there were no investor expectations for current ratio, so the gray line represents the industry average. Years 11 through 14, to start off, we were below industry average before finally rising above the industry average in year 15. And then, as you can see here, we had a large decrease in our current ratio in year 18. This was due to a very large stock repurchase that we issued. However, we did not view our current ratio being below industry average as a problem at all, because we were still able to pay off our debt, add value to shareholders, and invest in opportunities when they arose. It's also important to note that debt is not bad as long as it's managed well, which we felt like we did.
Yeah. So moving on to our year 20 profitability measures, we're going to take a look at our gross profit margin, operating profit margin, and net profit margin. numbers are the very top there, and we're gonna compare those to the very bottom, which is the industry average. Starting with the gross profit margin, we were about 2% below the industry average, and we mainly think that's because we were so heavily involved in private label, and that's because private label produces a lot lower margins than branded footwear production, which is the wholesale and internet segments. Next, we're gonna look at the operating profit margins, which is almost 5% above the industry average. The main difference why this one is so much better than our gross profit margin is because we were able to maintain the lowest distribution and warehouse costs throughout the entire industry in all 4 regions, as well as maintaining the highest internet operating profit in all 4 regions. Lastly, for the net profit margin, this was also above the industry average by about 3%. This doesn't really change much from the operating profit, besides the interest expenses and taxes paid. And our early repayment of debt put us in a good position with our net profit margins because we were able to avoid interest expense for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yes, now looking at our competitive strategy, we wanted to pursue a best cost provider strategy. We did this by keying in on a few factors. The first being competitive pricing through our pricing strategy. We wanted to price our product slightly above the industry average. We felt like we had the right to do this considering our higher product quality, but we did make sure to keep our prices below the prices of competitors who had similar product quality to us. Another factor that we looked at was SQ ratings, which is a direct measure of style and quality. We committed a lot of resources to things like best practices training to improve our quality. We felt like we would be able to differentiate ourselves from the competition with high quality. Lastly, we looked at the number of styles and models that we offered. From the very beginning in years 11 and 12, we began to increase the number of models that we offered in every single region. We felt like this was also in agreement with our company vision of satisfying every single consumer. So we wanted to reach a broad number of consumers. And if you look at this graph here, you can see our execution of this strategy. Looking at the x-axis here, you have product line breadth, which is the number of models that you offer. And we are represented by this bubble here with the A in it. And as you can see, we did offer the highest number of models. And then if you look at the y-axis, which represents price and quality, we were also at the high end of that as well.
Next, for our production and distribution, we wanted to implement a first mover strategy in regards to our global expansion. And to do this, we needed to increase our model availability as well as our production and distribution capabilities. The main reasons we wanted to do this strategy was to differentiate ourselves from the competition early, and it was a great way for us to shift costs out of North America into cheaper regions. Looking at these 2 charts here, we're going to look at the production equipment and facility space for year 14, and this just shows how we implemented our strategy. So once again, we're here at the top, and our production equipment was good for over 20 million pairs of shoes, whereas the next highest was just over 11 million pairs right here. And for the facility space, including construction of new space in year 15, we would have total available space to produce 25 million pairs of shoes, whereas the next highest is 16 million pairs of shoes. And to look at some of the results of this strategy, we're looking at our wholesale segments in both Asia Pacific and the Latin America regions. First of all, we are really differentiated by being the only ones in this whole area. So that just shows that we were able to differentiate ourselves well by increasing the number of models and having high quality, and that's for both regions. And then also, as you can see by the size of the bubble, we were able to increase our demand and market share by a lot through this strategy. Next, year 15, we had a big question to answer, which was what to do in North America when our equipment fully depreciated. When our equipment fully depreciated, we had no production capabilities. And since we really wanted to model our company after real world industry leaders, we decided to totally disband the North American region and produce and distribute everything internationally. And this was part of our cost constraint strategy, as we were able to save on material costs, labor costs, tariffs, and the cost of purchasing new equipment in North America.
Yeah, so looking at our market segments, we'll start with our wholesale market share here in the top left. Each line represents our market share in a different region in the wholesale region. So as you can see, we got off to a strong start in every single region. We believe that this was due to our early commitment to retailer support. We felt like if we committed a lot of resources to retailer support, we would be able to build strong, loyal relationships with the retailers, which would help us gain market share, one, to increase demand, and then in turn increase our net revenues. And by doing this, we felt like it was going to give us a strong defense against any competitors who were going to try to enter the same market as us. However, as you can see in year 15 and 16, we saw a pretty solid decrease in our market share. This was due to Bolt Performance committing to a very aggressive celebrity endorsement strategy. You can say that we were blindsided by them doing this, but we were able to take corrective actions and, in a way, punch back. As you can see, we regained market share for the last 4 years.
Moving on to our private label segment. In years 11 and 12, we only had 2 active regions, and this was due to our lack of production capabilities early on. And the 2 that were active were North America and Asia Pacific, which is where everybody started with production capabilities. And by year 13, our production strategy kicked in, and we were able to supply the private label market with at least 33% of market share in each region, peaking at about 45% in year 18.
Yeah, so what worked and what didn't work? We'll start with our successes, obviously. One huge success for us was our early commitment to retailer support. Like I mentioned earlier, it helped us build strong relationships with retailers, which helped us gain a lot of market share early on and sort of set ourselves apart from the competition.
Our next success was the use of celebrities. Since the celebrity appeal increased the demand greatly, this in turn gave us great net revenues in the wholesale segment, and it also acted as a way to steal the appeal from other competitors, which in turn kept their net revenues down, which was it was good for us. Looking at this successful year, in year 14, we had the highest appeal out of our competitors, and this was accompanied by the unsuccessful year 16, where the celebrity appeal of company B was very great. Our next success was the use of private label, and this was very successful because of our production strategy. We had excess equipment greater than everybody else in the industry, and most competitors did not have enough capacity to participate in private label, which kept the market shares very high for us.
Yeah, another huge success for us was our decision to greatly increase the number of models that we offered early on. We were the first company in the industry to do this, and by doing this, we kind of carved out our own little market segment where we increased our market share, demand, and revenues early on, more so than any of our competitors. This helped make our company stronger, more stable than our competitors early on, which helped us in defending against their moves to try to steal our success later on.
Our last success was the stock repurchases that we participated in. Early on in the first 5 years, this was a great way to increase our shareholder value through increasing our stock price. And we chose this route versus a dividend policy because as a young company, we decided it was unwise to bind ourselves to yearly dividends. And later on in the last 5 years, this was a great way to spend our excess cash when there were no other investment opportunities, as well as increasing our stock price.
So some of our failures, what didn't work, first was our aura of invincibility. After our strong start in years 11 through 14, I'd say that we accidentally fell into a comfortable mindset of thinking that we were the industry bully and that we were just going to do whatever we want and nobody was going to have anything to say about it. We were sorely mistaken. We underestimated ability of our competitors to make corrective actions and steal market share from us, steal demand from us. So if we were to do this again, that's definitely something that we would focus on, not underestimating our competitors and their ability to make corrective actions.
Our next failure was just year 16 as a whole. If you remember back to our first slide when we talked about financial performance, all of those metrics took a big hit in year 16, and we think there are three main reasons that this happened. As Joey already stated, we underestimated our competitors' drive to gain celebrities. And secondly, assuming that we would have won the year 16 bidding war, which we expected to do, we intentionally produced a surplus of around 200,000 pairs of shoes in each region. We predicted the demand increase from that. And then lastly, we also overlooked one of the rules. So regardless of whether we won the bidding war that year or not, we failed to realize that celebrities acquired in year 16 would not have been able to be utilized until year 17. So our plan would have failed whether we succeeded in bidding or not.
Yeah, so some of our achievements, in the top right here you see top 100 global. Aerovolt as a team was in the top 100 in the entire world, reaching the highest position of tied for 15th in year 16 before the fall of their financial rankings.
Next, as you can see over here, we have 7 bonus points. 6 of those came from the Bullseye Award, which, as it says here, is for accurately forecasting revenues, EPS, and image rating. And to us, that just showed that we were very cognizant of what was going on each year, and we were very aware of what decisions would be accurately represented in the following year. We also got one of the Leapfrog Awards, which is for the most improved overall score. We only got this one time, but when we won this one, we had about a net gain of 2 overall points in the year, whereas the rest of our competition was in the negative. So to us, this shows that we were very resilient to changes in the economy and in the market, which was a great characteristic of a strong leader.
Yeah, we also won the Corporate Responsibility Award in year 20 after finishing runner-up in years 18 and 19. Corporate responsibility was something that we committed ourselves to early on, and we sustained that commitment throughout all 10 years. And then here in the bottom right, you can see overall game to date score, which takes into account all the scores from the game. We led the industry in overall game to date score every single year. Not once did anybody pass us, and this is the result after year 20.
If I may, just a little bit of information. Mr. Harmon mentioned about Global 100. There are if I'm not mistaken, last count more than 4,000 teams competing at any point in time during the year, all over the world. And to be in that top 100 is impressive, to say the least. All right, questions for Sage and Joey?
Yes, Ms. Lee.
I'll do it. First of all, great job, guys. Great job on a year. I saw a lot of people sweating all semester long, and your name was mentioned more than once. Not in the best of terms, but that's all right. Sometimes it's hard to be number one all the way. Did you ever go, darn, I kind of wish somebody had passed me so we know what to fix, or were you okay? Were you like, you have that baseball spirit, I know.
Yeah. I joked to Sage a couple times that I wish somebody would pass us so that we could maybe make some changes or have some more on our hands. But no, it was phenomenal that we were able to succeed early on and sustain that. It was something that we were worried about because it's hard to sustain a competitive advantage. But we were able to do it, and so it's something that we're really proud of.
Other questions? I love it when you say it's hard to sustain competitive advantage. Very true. You committed to a best cost strategy. During that time, did you ever consider changing it to a differentiation strategy?
We never considered a differentiation strategy. We did consider a low-cost strategy early on, but seeing that every company was kind of sticking around that low or the middle range quality, for the first couple of years, we decided that it would be the most beneficial if we could just jump to our own segment that we thought people wouldn't be able to follow, which was the high quality and high models, high price.
Okay.
Not too much.
Who gave you sleepless nights?
Bolt Performance, when they, out of the blue, decided they were gonna start offering all the money they had to celebrities and stealing celebrities from us. Something we did not see coming, and that caused some hardships.
And later on, it was DM because of their strong growth throughout the 10 years.
If this continued for the next 10 years, do you think you could sustain your leadership, or?
I think so, yes. I think, I thought we were very good about our corrective actions and understanding shifts within the industry and understanding what our competitors were trying to do. And I think that every single time a problem came up, we were very swift in acting on it and figuring out a way to counter move our competitors.
Okay. And you mentioned an aura of invincibility as something that you regret. Are you saying never ever underestimate the competition?
That's exactly what we're saying.
Right. Any other questions? I have one more question to ask, but others, I don't want to hog this. Okay. If you could invite either Warren Buffett or Elon Musk to your presentation, who would you select?
Elon.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
I don't like that answer.
It doesn't matter what I like.
That is true.
So why? The question is why, follow for me. Why Elon over Warren?
Well, he's a little bit more like us. He's younger. He's more ambitious. He's not as disciplined, so maybe he'd be more willing to invest in us.
I personally like his personality. I think he's funny.
Huh?
Instead of saying all of these things, are you looking for innovative and innovation?
Oh yes, he's very innovative.
Thank you. Before you all go, we have parents here, Mr. Dunway's parents, and I also found out that Mr. Dunway's parents also knows Joey. So, right?
Yes.
So I
Yes,
was going to, what is this, have them hand you the certificate from your